So let's get started. My name's Brian Jennings, and I'm here with Susan Telesca from the
Hi.
Sports Services Department. And we do these webinars every month about new books that are coming out and what books we're reading. And we thought for November, because November is a great month for eating around Thanksgiving. So we thought November would be a great month to talk a little bit about cookbooks and cooking. So this is not going to be like our traditional webinars, and it's not going to quite be a Food Network show, but we thought we'd dip our toes into a little bit of cooking and recipes. So when we moved into our smaller location that we're at now, if you're out there watching, we are renovating our building, and we had quite a collection of cookbooks. And I thought to myself, as we were moving, we need to have a cookbook that somebody could pick up and they could get a recipe for anything. Because nowadays, I know people go to the internet a lot for recipes. I know I do. But sometimes you just want a good recipe from a reliable source. And so the first cookbook we're going to talk about is the Essential New York Times Cookbook, which is a cookbook that I have used to get fantastic waffle and pancake recipes that I make for my kids all the time, and they love it. I had old recipes that I got from the internet, but I found that these recipes from the book were a little bit better, just a little bit better, and the kids enjoy them very much. The waffle recipe is interesting because it has 4 eggs, so you want to know where that extra taste comes from. It's the 4 eggs, it's the 6 tablespoons of butter, but it also has a cup of plain yogurt. So that's that kind of extra ingredient that goes in there. Um, and this one I'm not going to um, make or mix up today because I don't have any yogurt in the house. But the one that I really like for pancakes, I am going to pull that together for you today. And so I'm going to stop my share, and what I'm going to try to do is, you may see I have my ingredients here. Uh, I always melt my butter. So I've melted my butter ahead of time. And then what I'll do is I'll get my eggs, and it's like you hope you don't get a shell when you're on camera, right? um, I think the old recipe only had 1 egg, so you get that extra egg in there. Always more eggs seem to make a better recipe. And then a cup of milk. So what I always, Sue's going to talk about 1 pot. I try to, can I mix everything up in 1 bowl? So you have to do less dishes is always my hope. And then it calls for just a tablespoon of sugar. Now, if you want to be healthy, sometimes if I'm feeling health conscious, I'll use honey instead of sugar. I'm not sure if it's really more health conscious, but you can do that. Today, I'm just going to use the sugar because why not? So it's just a tablespoon. This is a half a tablespoon. So just put my tablespoon of sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. And these pancakes are delicious. They're like cakey. Maybe that's because of the all the eggs. What do you think, Sue?
I think so. The eggs might give it a richer flavor, but I also think the eggs make it a more of a cakey type of pancake than anything else.
And what else? A little vanilla. It says a
Vanilla.
teaspoon. Yeah. I use the cheap stuff, but since I'm on camera, I pulled the good stuff out for you people. It depends on how benevolent I'm feeling with my kids. Were they good today? They can have the good vanilla. And then I'll just mix this up. I always like to add cinnamon too. I don't know why. It's not in the recipe. That's just my thing. I put a little cinnamon in. And if you're, say, you just want apple picking, you can cut up some apples, or maybe if you have some nice blueberries or fruit, you can always add that in there too. And then, so I'll get the eggs and the sugar, the butter, and mix that all up good. And then I'll put I don't know if I should put the baking powder in after the flour or before it. I don't know. And then it is a teaspoon of baking powder and a cup and a quarter of flour. I like to do this. I was telling Sue, I like to do this. I'll see if the kids want to have uh, breakfast for dinner tonight, but um, I like to do this on like a Sunday night, or if, and then put it in a Pyrex, put it in the fridge, and then you're all ready to go. Because I have 3 kids, so and they're 6, 9, and 12. So I make breakfast for them a lot in the mornings, but I have to go to work. They all got to get on the bus. We're putting everything together. So if you have everything mixed up, this goes very well. And when I cook them, I use coconut oil, and I read that somewhere because if you use butter, the butter can burn on high heat. The coconut oil does not burn. So that's my little tip on how to cook it. I'm not going to do that here today, but now we have it. You can't put the smells through Zoom, unfortunately. It's one thing that doesn't work. And so, but that's it. That's the pancake recipe. Pretty simple. Didn't take a long time. It's probably cheaper, depending on whether you use the real vanilla, than buying Aunt Jemima mix or your crusty, box at the store. And if it's not cheaper, it's definitely tastes better. I'll say that. So now we'll go back to our presentation and see where, and we send this presentation around to everybody. One of the things, another thing, when we were looking to move into a smaller place, not have as many cookbooks, you have to be much more selective on what you get. So a lot of these easy one pan, easy meals for busy people, because we know people are very busy around here. Those are the types of things we're looking to create. So Sue is going to talk about a recipe from this book by Melissa Clark. Sue, do you want to say anything else about this book?
This is this cookbook, the recipes, I've done several recipes in this cookbook. And one of the things that I like, aside from the fact that it's a one pot and it does go quickly, it really is a one pot. A lot of times a cookbook will say it's a one pot and then you realize you need two or three. This is really a one pot, and the recipes are easy to follow and they come out the way they're supposed to. You see the picture of it, and that's the way it comes out. So the recipe that I'm talking about today in this cookbook is called creamy goat cheese pasta. It's pasta with with tomatoes and olives and goat cheese. It's really great.
Really great.
Heat up some garlic. I start with the garlic. You see, it tells you to make the pasta first, but I'm not going to do the pasta today. You start with some garlic. You heat up the garlic in olive oil. I like olive oil because you can get it hot without burning, and you don't want to burn garlic. Garlic, if you burn the garlic, you get a bitter flavor in your pasta. So you're going to start with heating up some garlic, and then you'll add your tomatoes, half of your cherry tomatoes, and you want to cook them till they just start to get soft. And you throw in your olives, some salt and pepper. I use light salt rather than regular. It's Morton's light salt. I use that because my husband has high blood pressure. So I use this. It has a little less sodium and it still has all the salt flavor without as much sodium. So I use that. And then once you get that all together and a little soft, you're going to add the goat cheese. I go with it's it's a mild goat cheese. If you like a stronger flavor, you can go with a stronger goat cheese. It'll give you more of a bite. This is mild goat cheese. It also says if you don't like goat cheese, you can replace the goat cheese with ricotta cheese. Um, I find that the ricotta cheese kind of clumps a little bit instead of making a good sauce with the heavy cream. So you're going to take all of that in your pot. And most of her recipes call for Dutch ovens. I have several. This is my big one. You're going to toss in your garlic. It calls for 5 cloves of garlic. You can use more or less depending on what you like. So you throw in your garlic, you throw in your tomatoes, half the tomatoes, because you're going to save the rest of the tomatoes for once you make the pasta, and you throw them on top. So you make your tomatoes, you put them in oil, so you get a nice flavor. Again, you don't want to burn your garlic, so keep your flame a little low. You throw in a little bit of salt, more or less. It says a half a teaspoon, but you can put more or less depending on how salty you like anything. I go with a little bit of salt, and then after I taste it, I decide if I want to add more salt. Little pepper gives it a little bit of flavor. It does call for red pepper flakes. If you like a little heat, you can put them in. If you don't like heat, you can leave them out. It doesn't change the recipe. So once you get all that together, you throw in your goat cheese and you put in your heavy cream. And you just mix that all slowly over the heat until your goat cheese melts, and you get a nice sauce. Get a nice sauce together. And once you have that, the end, you put in a little more oil, a little more olive oil, maybe another tablespoon once you put in the pasta to keep it all together. This is really all there is to it. Now, once your cheese is melted, I didn't do the pasta here. I'm just getting it all together. You put in your hot pasta, and you just Stir it all together till all your pasta is done, and you throw in some Parmesan cheese on top of it. It says to melt it into the sauce. I find it tastes a little better if you put the Parmesan cheese after you've made the pasta, after you've put the pasta in, so that you don't get you get more of a Parmesan flavor. You can use any small pasta. I'm using here for dinner tonight shells, but you can use rotini, you can use ziti, any small or short pasta for that. And then at the end, you throw in some fresh basil on top. It comes out, gives it a nice minty type flavor. And that's all there is to it. And that makes a great fast dinner. You can get it together in half hour, 40 minutes. So it's a good weekday meal. That's what I like about this cookbook, is that you can make these meals during the week. They're not too complicated. They don't take too long. Great weekday meals for cooking. That's what I love about the Dinner in One cookbook. Nope. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Thank you. So let's see where we're at. That sounds delicious. I think
Very
I'd rather
good.
that than pancakes.
Yeah, it comes out really great. I like the goat cheese. I like more of a bite, so I use a more of a, not a mild goat cheese, but something a little more with a little more bite to it. But you can use any type of goat cheese that you like. Or like I said, ricotta cheese if you don't like goat cheese. It works just as well with the ricotta cheese. You just have to work a little harder to melt it.
Did you want to talk about this classic cookbook, one of your favorites, Sue?
Oh, one of my favorite cookbooks is called Essentials of Classic Italian Cooking. Now you can see that this cookbook is very well loved. It's breaking down. It's my go-to cookbook for Italian recipes. They have traditional recipes in it, like fettuccine alfredo, veal scallopini, chicken cacciatore. I've made them all. Um, they take a little longer. These are not weekday meals in this cookbook. These are things that you make on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon. None of these recipes in here can really be done well on a weekday. You really need the time to get all the ingredients together and to get them flavored properly. So I would use that cookbook for a weekend. But anytime I'm looking for really good traditional Italian recipe, that's the cookbook that I go to.
And here's another one. This one actually a patron recommended to us, and so one of the things I always say that I've learned from working in public libraries is you got to listen to the people. What are the people asking for? And sure enough, this one has been hard to keep on our shelf. Honey cake and latkes, and kind of talks about the intersection of culture and history and how that all comes together. Here, during the pandemic, many people, I think, binged the Great British Baking Show, and Hollywood is famous for that. He has a new cookbook out. And Sue, I think you made his brownies.
Yes, the brownies came out great. One of the factors that I think made the brownie so great is that it uses three kinds of chocolate: bittersweet, semi-sweet, and milk chocolate, all in the same brownie recipe. And then it calls for cocoa nibs on top. And the combination of all three different kinds of chocolate gave it a nice flavor. I like less cakey brownies. So this really came out. It was creamy. It was soft. It was very good. My husband, who's the brownie connoisseur in the family, really enjoyed them. So I thought the recipes in the beginning were going to be too hard for me. Paul Hollywood, but it came out. Follow the recipe. He very very good on how the recipes go, and the brownies came out great.
The cup of sugar also probably helped with the taste.
I'm sure the cup of sugar didn't hurt the flavor of the brownies. They're very rich, very rich. Um,
And just a few other cookbooks that we've acquired recently. The Cook You Want to Be: Everyday Recipes to Impress. This kind of takes that fine line between easy everyday cooking and how to make an aioli or something a little fancier. Um, and of course, we've tried to acquire specific cookbooks that have been well reviewed on specific types of cuisine. There's Korean American by Eric Kim, Line of Fire: Mastering the Arts of Pit Cooked Barbecue, The Grill and the Smokehouse by Pat Martin and Nick Fauchald, and Salad Freak. Certainly, we want to have healthier food, and this gives recipes to feed the healthy obsession of salads by Jess DeMuck. And then practical healthy cookbooks. And that's really, I think, in only being able to acquire a few cookbooks, not as many as we usually would, I think, and even when you can acquire more, you really want practical cookbooks. You want healthy cookbooks. This Danielle Walker's Healthy in a Hurry. In fact, a patron just checked it out. I was at the library earlier today, and she said, "My doctor says I have to eat healthier." And so we requested a few books for her, but she took this one. And this was a book that I think the publisher actually sent to us for free. And lots of times we get free books from publishers and you just kind of write it off. But I took a look at it and it was very good because it had a chart as if this is what I'm going to make Monday, this is what I'm going to make Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then you could go and look at the full recipe and put those two things together. So very helpful. And then there's also Make This Tonight: Recipes to Get Dinner on the Table. So lots of practical cookbooks are what we're looking to acquire. And of
The
course,
thing I like about cookbooks, excuse me, I'm sorry,
no, go
cookbooks that
ahead.
tell you eat this on Monday, eat this on Tuesday, is the ease of which you can go shopping. Because I'm having Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, what I'm having, you can make sure that you have the ingredients in the house and you can go with a shopping list of saying, well, this is what I'm going to get for Monday, this is what I'm going to get for Tuesday. And then you're not scrounging in the cabinet looking to see if you have the ingredients for whatever that meal is you want to do that night.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said to the patron. I said, this will help you kind of plan out your meals. And then, of course, it's Friday, so we are collecting a handful, not too many, everything in moderation, um, books about how to make drinks. So one that we recently acquired was well reviewed, the the Bartender's Manifesto: How to Think, Drink, and Create Cocktails Like a Pro. And if you enjoyed this, you may be interested in some of our upcoming webinars. We usually do them first Friday of the month, 4 p.m. We record them and then we send book lists out later. December it's going to be our favorite books of 2022. January, we have our most anticipated books of 2023. And in February, Karen Ostertag, who collects the romance books, will be talking about romance reads. So thanks for doing it, and have a good weekend, Sue. See ya.